Let me get this out. That's why I like doing these in the morning, so this way they're done. But let me get it done now, and then we'll go off to the pool. Good afternoon, Tony Dattino. I am the founder of the USA Memory Championship, and we are planning our 25th event for the 2024 year. In any case, I wanted to do a second part of something I started with on Wednesday and told you I would get back to it because there were several things in a recent article that was in the November issue of Mind, Mood, and Memory. And I started on Wednesday with a piece of this on the research suggests that sleeping on it helps with your moods and memory. And studies are underscoring that if you want to have healthy mental functions and deal with stress and having build resilience, then one of the things you need to have is good quality sleep. And we talked about that on Wednesday, about at least you want to have 6 hours, no more than 9. But this relationship between sleep and stress and having resilience to bounce off of things extremely important to us. And the question, are we getting enough of sleep? So there's a standard, obviously, of 6 to 9 hours, with understanding that, many adults in this day and age are getting 6, so will that work? And it's important to get to your deeper levels. But an indicator is known as what they call wakefulness after you sleep. It's time spent awake during the night when you have fallen asleep. Ideally, you shouldn't spend more than 30 minutes of wakefulness after falling asleep at bedtime. Similarly, a measure called efficiency should be more than 85%. Parameters such as optimal deep sleep and dream sleep are considered in determining the sleep quality and quantity. So says the study that they quote in this issue. So what does all that mean? Well, when we're going to sleep, you obviously want to get into your deepest level. There are these different gradients of sleep. And you want to get down to that level where it's doing all the work that cleans out toxins and helping to populate things that you want to retain and remember when you get up the next day. And that you're not interrupting those patterns and you're not getting up by more than these process that they're talking about should be no more than 30 minutes. If you feel like you're not getting enough of good sleep, restorative sleep, obviously it suggests that you want to talk with your doctor. And my problem with that sometimes is I'm not sure that many doctors really understand sleep and the importance of these rhythms that we go through and the different stages of it. They probably get some level of it, but I'm finding that in many cases doctors don't get enough of sleep, and so it's really, really crazy. So some of the suggestions they make, obviously, they talk about the circadian rhythms. These are these rhythms within our body that we adapt to. And so going to bed at the same time helps to reinforce. So when do you go to bed? When do you wake up? And stay in this rhythm so your body just goes into subconscious mode. I know for years while I was in a work cycle and set the alarm for 6:15 or 6:30, at 6 o'clock I was waking up and looking at the alarm and said, oh, I'm ready to get up. And I really never needed an alarm to get myself up when I was in that day-to-day, get out there and get it done mode. When you get a little bit older and you work part-time, your cycles may change. And so some mornings I'm getting up a little bit later than others, and I'm like, I might get up and do a crossword puzzle or read a newspaper or read my iPhone or something of that sort. But one of the things I found extremely interesting is alcohol, right? God, I used to think about, people think, well, I'll go get some alcohol and take a couple of drinks and I'll go off to sleep. And alcohol doesn't do it. It actually interferes with restful sleep overnight. So one of the myths that I think people have is the notion of, well, I'll go get a couple of drinks and that's going to help me get to bed. Well, it may help you get to bed in a very short period of time. If you really douse yourself, it may help you stay asleep as your brain is trying to sort it out. But it's not helping you get the right kind of sleep for your memory and how you're going to be able to retain things. In fact, you may get up the next morning and not even know where you are and what you were doing from the night before. So alcohol is one of those things, computer time, right? Spending time on the computer or watching too much television, or being on the phone, anything that's distracting you from starting to quiet down. So I have a general rule of no phone calls after 8 o'clock. I have a rule of not watching news programs after 7 o'clock. If there's the news of the day as we're having right now between what's going on in the Mideast and what's going on here in our own state of Maine, I may stay up to close down what I can learn, and when it gets to the point where it's redundant, I just shut it off, and then might go outside for a few minutes and just take a short little walk, down to the end of a dead-end street that I'm on, and just come back in and let that clear out and listen to the sounds of the night. That just quiets down, and it's a safe walk, and so I don't worry about my own safety. My point is I try to bridge anything that creates a level of stress to, when I hit that pillow, I want to be able to feel that I can just let it all go. One other area that they address in here that I find people think is, gee, well, you know what, I'll stay up a few nights. We sometimes might call this jet lag, but when you catch up, you fall asleep, got this backwards. When you don't fall asleep and you're sleep deprived, well, can I catch up on the weekends? And what the study here is saying is you may try to make up a difference of sleeping, but you may be surprised at how much it takes to actually catch up on lost sleep. Sleep debt due to deprivation is cumulative. And research shows that it takes up to 4 days to recover, 4 days to recover from 1 hour of lost sleep, and up to 9 days to completely eliminate any sleep debt that you have. So the notion that, my goodness, I'll just run my wagon out all week long, or run my butt off all week long, and I'll let it catch up and sleep later on weekends, and by Monday I'm back to normal again. From what this research is sharing with the Mind, Mood, and Memory magazine newsletter, is basically saying not going to happen. It could take you 4 days, it could take you up to 9, depending upon how sleep deprived you are. And even if you make a deposit in your sleep bank, you reverse an injury to your cognitive and mental health? It's an interesting question, very perplexing to say, well, gee, if I'm sleep deprived, am I doing more permanent damage to my brain? Am I doing something that's going to have a longer-term impact to my mental health and cognitive functions? And this raises the question, better quality and quantity of sleep may not fully restore optimal brain functioning. This is Dr. Chopra in this research article here. Maintaining a consistent sleep pattern and timings while avoiding deprivation on an ongoing basis is recommended to avoid undue harm that's caused to your brain by insufficient sleep. So I know when I'm not getting my full at least 7 hours of sleep, I'm a little bit more tired, I'm a little bit more short, I'm a little bit more cranky, I'm a little bit react to the stressful situations a little bit stronger. And so just try this in your own life, which is, do you notice that your brain is just racing and you got things going on that just let you not, that are interfering with your ability to lay on the pillow and close your eyes and say, it's time for me to go to bed. Have you cleared space? I call it clearing space. Have you taken a few minutes from whenever it was that caused you to tense up or stress or caused you to be a little bit more agitated? Did you watch the 11 o'clock news? Did you have a phone call that was upsetting? Did you read an email that was causing you to be a little bit more anxious and you can't wait till the next morning to get to it and call somebody up and give them hell or whatever it might be doing, resolve a problem that you've got? And then if you're doing this on weekends, well, you got to wait through Saturday, Sunday, and get to Monday, so it just compounds itself. So how do you distance yourself and give yourself space? Well, first of all, don't put on news programs. I recommend people after 6 or 7 o'clock. I think you'll know what the critical news is. You can put it on at 6 a.m. in the morning. Try to handle phone calls before 8 o'clock, and this way any stressful calls that you get or information somebody's calling to give you, then you have a little bit of time and space if you're going to bed at 10 o'clock. And certainly, in terms of doing your emails, I do not do emails after 8 o'clock at night. And so it's my own personal rule. I usually am in bed between 10:30 and 11:30, somewhere in that time period. Usually 11 is a good spot for me. And I try to make sure I always work to have space between phone calls, iPhones, things that I'm working on before I decide it's time for me to just call it a night. It's weekend time, and Halloween's coming up next week. I know in our neighborhood we're driving around a bit, and we're seeing all the Halloween decorations that people are putting up. So we're a few days away from having the Halloween trick-or-treaters coming and knock on your front door. And may you have a nice weekend, and may you be safe, and may all your friends and families be equally as safe. We'll see you back here on Monday.